Happy opening day, everybody. Happy opening day. Today, go Birds, I understand, is the universal greeting. It's kind of taken on a life of the word a John, if you're familiar, where it just kind of means everything. Go Birds. You can use it for anything. A greeting, a farewell, hope you're doing okay, sorry about your loss, whatever it might be. You can use Go Birds for anything. The closest thing we've got to that now, right now at this given time, certainly not, hey, go Sixers. Hey, let's go Flyers. No, let's go Phils. It's the closest thing we got to it. Short, concise, conveys a very important, uplifting message. And on opening day, it just feels so good. It feels so good, like a sip of ice cold water after you cross a desert or something. You know what I mean? I am so thrilled that it's opening day today because it's just, since the Super Bowl, I've been longing for this moment. I knew the Super Bowl, the parade, nothing was going to compare to it. I knew we weren't going to be experiencing anything great with the Flyers. I knew nothing great was coming with the Sixers. Oh, God. And now we get to at least experience a fresh new start to the Philadelphia Phillies 2025 season. And this team has so much to prove. The expectations on this team, they really go to the nth degree. Are they under the radar, as Nick Castellanos said at the beginning of spring training? Absolutely not in the city of Philadelphia. Maybe some national pundits I referenced earlier, very popular podcaster now, Justin Verlander, Ben Verlander, excuse me, Justin's brother, has been on the show. He mentioned that the Phillies are going to win the NL East and then pick the Braves to beat the Phillies in the NLCS. Okay, to go on to the World Series. I feel in Philadelphia, this team is under a huge microscope, being that they have done the thing that the Philadelphia Phillies of yesteryear, of 15 years ago, what they did, which was, they won the World Series, but then they took a step backward every single year. This Philadelphia Phillies team, although winning the division last year was great, they took the earliest, exit that they have taken in the Rob Thompson era out of the playoffs. We talked about how Rob Thompson might be on a short leash this year if the Phillies can't get it going. Look, I believe thoroughly that the Philadelphia Phillies are going to make the playoffs this year. I can't look at the Atlanta Braves. I'm not picking them to win the division because I can't look at the Atlanta Braves and look at them from last year and see how well they performed despite missing so many stars on their roster. I can't look at them and say, clearly they're going to be worse this year with getting guys back that are now going to be healthy and are also only phenomenally talented. And I don't know what it is about Atlanta. They just win in the regular season. So I can't pick the Phillies over the Braves to win the division, despite the fact that the Phillies the Phillies rotation is going to be great, that their lineup still has big names in it that have yet to really live up to what those reputations are surrounding those names in terms of clutch hitting and winning when it matters most. Last year, they rode that incredible start to the season, 37-14. We've talked about it many times throughout this week. But today is the day where those names have to start living up to the expectations. Now, I don't see the Phillies getting out to an incredible start. I don't see them getting off to a horrible start where they're going to fire Rob Thompson 2 months into the season or anything like that. But I see the Phillies being a 500 team. I see the bats struggling early. And I see this team getting hot late. Maybe it'll be the month of June where they really start to turn things around. I would love to say that today they're going to go out there and start a sweep and then never look back on the rest of the season. But I can't look at this team, and I hope I'm wrong, but I can't look at this team and say they're going to come out of the gate swinging. I think we're going to go through some very awful ups and downs to start the year. And then in the second half of the year, they're going to start to grab your attention again. And you're going to start to see those names realize, wait, this is the last time we could go around with this? With guys like Nick Castellanos, guys with Kyle Schwarber. Like, even if you have 1 year remaining on your contract, Dave Dombrowski's got to be thinking, if this team isn't showing me anything that they trade deadline, I got to get what I can. Get while the getting's good right now. So when you play out this entire season, I do have the Phillies making the postseason. I do have Bryce Harper putting together a damn near MVP season again. Because I think of all the guys on this roster, when you talk about the last go-around with a lot of these guys, Bryce Harper's the one that's looking around going, oh, I want to sign a contract extension with this team. I'm 7 years in. I want to make sure I win here in Philadelphia. He doesn't want to go anywhere else, according to him. Wants to sign it. I joked maybe 5 years ago after a walk-off hit from Bryce Harper that, hey, it's time. Let's talk about an extension for Bryce Harper. And I was kidding. And here we are, 5 years into it, 6 years into it. People are really talking about this, and Bryce Harper apparently really wants this, an extension in Philadelphia. But this is going to be his last go-around with guys possibly like Kyle Schwarber, like Nick Castellanos, like JT Realmuto. Trey Turner ain't going anywhere. But if you're talking about propelling this team into doing something special this year, I think Bryce Harper is the type of guy that can lead that charge. Now, let me just get the obvious out of the way for everyone that needs to hear it. If they stay healthy. If Bryce Harper stays healthy. And I also like the idea that Bryce Harper has left open the door. And this happened early in spring training, and it was one of the bigger stories to come out of spring training, that Bryce Harper is willing to move back to the outfield if it means the Phillies can get a bat in here that can also play first base. So he's willing to be versatile in that. If that is the case, if the Phillies can do that, doesn't just open up things at first base. That opens up things potentially, obviously, in the outfield. I've told you, Max Kepler, who is the bat that the Phillies have added, that people are hoping to be a difference maker. I'm not so big on Max Kepler as maybe some other people will. The projected starting lineup today, I know a lot of people have him in there. We'll get to MLB.com's projected starting lineup today against the lefty Mackenzie Gore when they get things underway at 4:05 in D.C. today for opening day. But I don't look at him and be like, oh, clear cut, this is going to be great. Oh, the Phillies are really filled a hole there. I'm not as amped up as some other people are on Kepler. But if it is a situation where you get to the trade deadline and you could get somebody in here that could play first base, it can be that power bat or whatever, Bryce Harper moving back to the outfield maybe shifts some things around. I mentioned yesterday, there's a couple of tests that the Phillies have this year. The person I have really passing a test this year is Bryson Stott. That's my talking point for yesterday. Bryson Stott, I'm expecting a big year from. I'm expecting him to flirt with 300. I think I saw yesterday, Ruben Amaro Jr. picked him at some point this year to be leading off. I have at some point in his career, he's a leadoff hitter, but not this year. If Bryson Stott is leading off, that means Kyle Schwarber hopefully is working great as potentially the cleanup hitter, and they don't want to move him. But Trey Turner has failed miserably. And I don't want Trey Turner failing miserably. I want that speed. Not that Bryson Stott is molasses, but I want that speed at the top of the order. And I want that potential pop at the top of the order, especially if Trey Turner can get hot. Bryson Stott, I'm not expecting a lot of pop from. I want Bryson Stott to be down there in the order where he's been for them in his career and getting himself established again, reacclimating to be a good hitter, because I am expecting a damn near 300 season from Bryson Stott. And if he is hitting 300, maybe you are moving him up a little bit later in the season. But I'm expecting a big season from Bryson Stott. I said yesterday, Rafael Marchand is a guy that I'm looking at to be a big difference maker. My prediction is Rafael Marchand is a bigger difference maker for the Phillies than Max Kepler will be this year. Now, this is twofold for Marchand. One, it goes to giving regular rest to JT Realmuto. God love him for his attitude and how much he loves the game and wants to play, and he was willing to play first base for the Phillies if it meant it got him out from squatting for 9 innings. God bless him for it. No, thank you. You sit down, you take a break. Maybe a pinch hitter. Maybe designated hitter on a day I'm going to give Kyle Schwarber the day off. Maybe. So Rafael Marchand not only I think will be impactful as a backup catcher for himself, but also giving those days off and keeping JT Realmuto fresh for hopefully a postseason run. Those are the two names I talked about mostly yesterday when it came to Rafael Marchand and Bryson Stott. Other guys I'm going to be really focused on this year that are more under the radar guys that aren't Bryce Harper or Trey Turner, for instance. Kyle Schwarber. Now, look at today's projected lineup. This is Todd Zalecki, MLB.com. The way it was written on MLB.com was likely starters. Likely starters. Starting lineup. Kyle Schwarber's a cleanup hitter. Trey Turner leading off. Again, you have a lefty on the mound with Mackenzie Gore. Bryce Harper batting second, Alec Boehm, Kyle Schwarber, Nick Castellanos, Max Kepler batting sixth. Batting seventh is JT Realmuto. Eighth is Bryson Stott. Ninth is Brandon Marsh. When you talk about the under-the-radar guys, Brandon Marsh is getting a phenomenal opportunity here. Brandon Marsh, the last 2 seasons, has started out the season like over 300, hitting 328, hitting damn near 330 in back-to-back years to start the year for the first month. And then it is just a nosedive, an absolute nosedive. We've referenced his numbers against left-handed pitching, how the Phillies have kept him out against left-handed pitching, so he doesn't have the opportunity to improve on it, having 15 home runs last year off righties and 1 against lefties. They're giving him the opportunity to say, hey, you're going to be the everyday center fielder. You're going to get the opportunity to bat against not just righties, but also lefties. Brandon Marsh is a good fielding center fielder. I think Johan Rojas is a great fielding center fielder. But when it comes to the bat, Brandon Marsh has this phenomenal red carpet rolled out in front of him to take this job. The difference for me in the Phillies starting out the season great and the Phillies starting out the season mediocre could be reliant on not just the obvious when it comes to how the big names perform, but it's Brandon Marsh. When I look at last year and the success that Phillies team had, the heroes that they had in the early goings of this, it wasn't just Bryce Harper was having a great start, or Trey Turner, or Kyle Schwarber, or Nick Castellanos turning it around in the midway point. What made the difference was that you had the glue guys, the under the radar, Christian Pache getting a walk-off hit for you against the Marlins, like little things like that. The amount of guys, Garrett Stubbs, in the rare occasion he came up with a big hit in the early goings of last season. The under-the-radar guys stepping up, performing at a high level is what helped those Phillies get out to that 37-14 start before everything hit the fan at the end of May. The under-the-radar guys like Brandon Marsh, who was not an under-the-radar guy as far as, we're not familiar with him. We're certainly familiar with him, but in terms of he's not the big-name guy that you're going to be relying on. But throughout the season, you need those guys, those bottom-of-the-order guys, those guys off the bench to come up and get big hits for you. The number one guy the Phillies are going to be relying on off the bench is obviously Cody Clemens, him making the roster over Buddy Kennedy and if you look at the spring training numbers, Buddy Kennedy's a great story. Grandfather played for the Phils fan, blah, blah, all that stuff is great. But Cody Clemens just outplayed him in spring training. So you're going to need those guys that are the glue guys, the chemistry pieces, the guys off the bench to do their job if the Phillies are going to get off to that great start. Unfortunately, I as much as I'd love to say, with the Flyers being bad, the Sixers being god-awful and disappointing, and how much of a crash that was from the Super Bowl high and all that, I'd love to say that the Phillies come in, they swoop in, and they save the day. I get a bit of a reputation at times for being a little too rose-colored glasses, a little too optimistic when it comes to the sport of baseball. I wish I could be in that eternally optimistic mode of opening day. I'm happy it's opening day, but I don't think the Phillies' best baseball is going to be in the first 2 months of the calendar. I see this being a slow burn, and then instead of it's like, oh, this is uncomfortable, it's like, oh, this is nice. This is going to be nice. This is going to be a nice season for the Phils. Here's one guarantee I'll give Phillies fans. The guarantee is the Phillies will be relevant in September. As great as the Eagles will be, we'll have a season where we're going to be looking at we're still going to keep one eye on the Phillies. And at times, 6 days a week, 2 eyes on the Phillies. That's my guarantee. The Phillies will give us those meaningful games in the month of September. As far as this lineup goes today, again, projected lineup. Rob Thompson didn't wake up and put out the lineup at 6:30 in the morning. This is a lineup that I really hope works. I like the idea of Bryce Harper batting second. Apparently, it's something that he's not totally crazy about. But the odd thing to me is Alec Boehm. 20. I don't know if there's more of a depreciation in my lifetime in sports more so than the home run. Like 20 home runs a long time ago, like when I was a kid, meant like, oh, this guy can hit with some pop. Like 20 home runs now, there's like 120 players that hit 20 home runs last year. It's not that big a deal anymore. Alec Bohm has hit 20 home runs once in his career, and he did it on the last game of the season 2 years ago. Last year, obviously dealt with injury issues, played about 140 some games, was well short of the, I think he had 15 home runs last year. I'd like to see maybe a little bit more pop behind Bryce Harper. But the Phillies, they're not going to do that apparently in this lineup. So that's the only thing that kind of rubs me the wrong way about this. But Rob Thompson has said as recently as last week, Trey Turner, Bryce Harper, Alec Bohm, Kyle Schwarber, that variation, that is going to be the first 4 hitters in his lineup. In no particular order. Maybe Trey Turner, Kyle Schwarber will fluctuate depending on lefty-righty matchups. But that's going to be your first 4 hitters, if you will, in this lineup pretty consistently. Alec Bohm batting third. Interesting. I hope he can get right back to what he was doing before he got hurt last year and before what some people put down as pouting. I felt like Alec Bohm got a really bad rap at the end of last year. But Trey Turner, Bryce Harper, Alec Bohm, Kyle Schwarber, that is going to be consistently what you got. Nick Castellanos, I mentioned many times yesterday, and I'll get back into it. When people talk about Nick Castellanos as a model of consistency, normally they're talking about swinging at low and away pitches, chasing those at a ridiculous pace. Nick Castellanos was the Phillies' most consistent hitter for the last 3+ months of the season. To reference the numbers again, 276, 275, 275. Like, that's pretty damn good. You'd like to see him get closer to a 30 home run mark than he did last year. But when you talk about him being a model of consistency, that's exactly what he was at the end of last year. Second half of the season, I should say, to be more clear. If he could stay in that 5 spot and he could get Kyle Schwarber some fastballs, he can help protect Kyle Schwarber in that order, then that could be a huge shift in how I feel about the Phillies opening things up. I'm almost rooting for that slow start to the season just so I can feel better about the way they play at the end of the season. But Nick Castellanos, hopefully hitting with a little bit of pop this year, protecting Kyle Schwarber. If Kyle Schwarber is going to be batting more consistently, even if it is a platoon leadoff spot, then I think some great things are going to happen in the Phillies lineup. It's just that Nick Castellanos starting out hot has been few and far between, unfortunately. Max Kepler is a guy the Phillies certainly are banking on to be their difference maker at the top. In the lineup this year. Getting him from the Twins. Look, he's had an up and down career. It's been a minute since he has been looked at as a stud that he was when he was in Minnesota. I know some people were excited about it. I think the biggest acquisition of the offseason was Jesus Luzardo, and I'm hoping he gets an opportunity in the early – well, he will get an opportunity in the early goings of this season to really prove that. For me, that's the biggest acquisition of the offseason. But when you talk about just the lineup, and you're talking about a guy like Max Kepler, he's getting an opportunity to kind of reestablish his career because that's not something he did or at least wasn't successful at doing when he was with the Minnesota Twins. You're talking about a recently 32-year-old player who has spent his career in one place. He has hit with pop in his career. Talking about 2 seasons ago, hit 24 home runs in just 130 games played. Got on base around 330 that year. And last year, of course, with injuries, well, he's had his issues. I wish I could say at 32 years old, you're going to have that bounce back year. And maybe it happened. How old was Raul Ibanez? 37, and he was an all-star in his first 3 months with the Phillies. And that's the guy I'm drawing comparisons to. Maybe this is the resurgence he needs. I saw Doug Glanville give an interview. Doug Glanville, of course, ESPN, former Phillies center fielder. And They were talking about the offseason. What the hell? I never have my phone on. Whatever. They were talking about the Phillies offseason and how they didn't make the big splash. Like what people expecting Juan Soto. I don't know. But I see Dave Dombrowski, if I'm comparing it to anything in recent memory with the Phillies, I see Dave Dombrowski, although it's kind of his doing, I see him in the Pat Gillick phase of his Phillies tenure. And what I mean by that is Pat Gillick had some great – we just talked about this last week with Ed Wade going into the Phillies Wall of Fame. Ed Wade couldn't get the glue guys around the bigger name players. And obviously holding on to Bobby Abreu was something that he wanted to do. But one of the things Pat Gillick kind of realized was that guy had to move out for the other guys to ascend to the, clubhouse leaders. And then you had to find the guys that were, buy low and hopefully, they develop here. Jason Worth is the primary example of that. Getting a guy like Jamie Moyer in here in the latter stages of his career to help bring along a guy like Cole Hamels was big. Letting guys like Brett Myers develop, that was a big part of that rotation. Bringing in a guy to be on the back end of that rotation and Joe Blanton. Getting guys like that. Jeff Jenkins for the 08 team. Getting guys like that in here were the perfect guys to put around that core that you had. Dave Dombrowski, he's got his Bryce Harper. He's got his Trey Turner. He's obviously got his Kyle Schwarber. He's got his stud pitching staff. Now, this offseason, he needed to find those, smaller, low, what do you call it? Chemistry guys, glue guys to fill out the rest of that roster that will be solid pieces that he feels he can rely on. So he didn't need, in his mind, to go out there and make those huge acquisitions. It was a fairly quiet offseason. The question is whether or not Max Kepler will be that difference maker for the Phillies, not to be an MVP, but just to be clutch for this Phillies team, and whether or not Rafael Marchand can be a guy that could, start you 50 games this season, at least. That's going to be a huge difference maker when you talk about just the Phillies lineup. The other thing, the tinkering with the lineup, the pieces that you already had, could that be the difference this year? Will Trey Turner establish himself as a leadoff hitter? Will Kyle Schwarber establish himself as a cleanup hitter and drive in those runs? Will it be as simple as the mix and match that a lot of people have talked about? Look, it's frustrating to me. It goes against so much, and I know this has been my opinion for years now, but it just goes against what I believe in as a baseball fan. Like, what's Kyle Schwarber doing at the top of the order? It doesn't make any sense, but they win. So how do you argue against it? Well, the Phillies are now arguing against it if, in fact, Trey Turner is going to be their starting, the leadoff hitter against left-handed pitching. It's not going to be. Doesn't make any sense because why would you change anything when that hasn't been the problem? The idea is that something's got to change. Something's got to change with this ball club. Rob Thompson's going to have his fingers on the button throughout the year. Rob Thompson was the perfect changeup from Joe Girardi. The question that people might have here when it comes to Rob Thompson and the length of the leash that he has with this Phillies team is Calitri going to be the guy that replaces him? Do they have another manager waiting in the wings that's going to come in here? The interesting thing here when you talk about a guy who signed the year extension, so he's not a lame duck, whatever. Bryce Harper and this team supposedly loves Rob Thompson. And it's a difference between football players. I've heard talk about it many times that they don't really play for a head coach. They don't get up and play for a head coach or whatever. At least maybe not in modern day. I don't know. But in baseball, I've heard guys talk about like how heartbroken they are when they lose a manager that they really loved and they loved playing for him. The difference is whether or not Rob Thompson can motivate these guys and get them to pull focus when they absolutely need to pull focus. If I'm the Phillies, now I just said, here's what I believe. My prediction doesn't match my desire. Obviously, I want the Phillies to go 162-0. But if I'm the Phillies, the attitude of Nick Castellanos saying we're not, or the mindset of Nick Castellanos saying that we're kind of under the radar, this year, which is a good spot to be. I don't want them. Like, I want them to be relaxed. I don't want them to be gripping the bat too tight or anything like that. But if you're the Phillies, if you're having a real conversation in your clubhouse, even if you're just individually looking in the mirror, who do you think you are? Like, that's what it comes down to. And I was thinking about this yesterday. Who the hell do you think you are? You're a team that has had over the last recent seasons here, huge payroll, huge names brought in here. Obviously, Bryce Harper and Trey Turner kind of leading that. Kyle Schwarber, a proven winner, coming in here. Nick Castellanos, an all-star, coming in here. Big money guys, at least at the time they signed their deals. And you have a rotation that has been assembled that is, people are picking to be the best in the National League at least. And the reason, like myself, most people are even saying you're going to make the playoffs is because of that rotation. If you're the Phillies, you're looking in the mirror or you're talking to each other in the clubhouse, how do you not know what's on the line? After the disappointment that we've had in this city with 3 out of the 4 sports teams, how do you not look at it as the Phillies and go, well, this could be our last go around with this core club. We have taken a step backwards every single year. And now there's, in what could be the last go around, how is there less pressure? Your manager wasn't giving a 5-year contract extension here. You struggle, and this team could be sellers at the deadline. All right, well, we got to see what we get from these guys before we lose them. So you could be looking at certainly not a rebuild, but a retooling after this year. How do you not look in the mirror and say, all right, not to put more pressure on us, but we have underachieved for what we believe we could do. And this is what rubbed me so poorly, what rubbed me the wrong way about Castellanos' comments in spring training was that this was the same guy that after they lost the NLCS to the Diamondbacks in that horrible series, Nick Castellanos was the guy in front of the microphones at his locker saying, this feels like a major step back. We went to the World Series. We had that taste of the World Series in our mouths, and unfortunately we lost it. And then now, the following season, we take a step backwards. We don't even make it to the World Series. We're supposed to build off a World Series appearance and then win the World Series a year after that. But we don't even make it to the World Series. I'm like, yes, I know he's just acknowledging facts here. I know he's just reporting the news. He's just, giving the history lesson. But that's exactly what I want him to acknowledge. I don't want him to focus on, it's hard to get here and it's very difficult to be in a spot like this. And, hopefully next year we bounce back, blah, blah, blah. No, you took a step back. Like just the acknowledgement of the reversal of fortunes here for the Phillies has been terrible. So if you're the Phillies and you're in your clubhouse and you're talking to each other, you're looking in the mirror and you're trying to tell you, hey, what are we going to get out of 2025? You got to win a World Series. That's what you got to do. You got the rotation to do it. I just fear the Phillies bats going ice cold. I don't know how many times I referenced it last season, but I don't think I referenced it once because I didn't want to be the vibes killer. When the Phillies started off as high as they did last year, it's still in the back of my head. And people are, this team's going to the World Series. They're going to win the World Series. Last year they had a great start. What do we just start watching baseball here? It's not how you start. It is 1,000,000% how you finish. And the Phillies, to me, were a team that hit 6 home runs in a World Series game? And then got no hit the next game? That's what haunts me. That's what haunts me. It's not the rotation all of a sudden being ass. It's the bats just being flat. That's what haunts me. And I know a lot of people always look at this Phillies team and they talk about free swingers. They talk about Nick Castellanos. And that's the number one guy. Talk about Kyle Schwarber. And I've mentioned it enough. You can talk about 35, 40 home runs with Kyle Schwarber. You can talk about that all the live long day. But also right there, what scares the hell out of me is 200 strikeouts as your cleanup hitter. You go back to Ryan Howard. Ryan Howard actually never struck out 200 times in a season. He struck out 199 times twice. in back-to-back years. And I believe one of those years was the World Series year. But he also was getting on base at like 390. Kyle Schwarber as a leadoff guy makes sense because he gets on base better than anybody on the team. But as a power guy, it'd be nice to have some guys on base and not just have the pitcher think, okay, I just got to face Kyle Schwarber. No, damn it, home run. Okay, let's see if I can get through the rest of these guys. The mental game Rob Thompson always talks about with that. But when it comes to the overall, if there's a fear, if there's a worry on this team, it has nothing to do with arms. It has everything to do with the bats. And those are the guys that I'm really talking about when I talk about the individuals that might look in the mirror or have conversations in the clubhouse. Those are the guys. It's the position players here that need to step up in the lineup if this team is truly going to have a World Series run in them. Because there's a lot on the line that I don't hear enough people talking about. Not just in this individual, because they've taken a step back every year, they need to get back on track here. Well, yeah, of course they do. But do they realize the stick of dynamite that could be dropped in the middle of this team if they do have an underachieving season? Like, so help me God, if Zach Wheeler has another, top 2, top 3 Cy Young Award winning type of season, and the Phillies can't get him any run support, if that's a storyline, that's going to drive me bananas as the season goes on. Like throwing my remote across the room like a child. Bananas throughout this year. My win total for the Phillies is going to be 93 wins for the Phillies, and they make a wild card. I think the Braves are going to have a great year because I want to it's what the Braves do. They gave the Phillies too many thorns in their side, especially at the end of last season with just about everybody banged up. But my number is 93. That's my number for the Phils. What's your number for the Phils? How many wins did the Phillies get this season? Now I'm going to be rooting for 110, okay? Or 103. Let's go with the record, new record set. I'd love for a new record to be set in the Zach Wheeler, Bryce Harper era. That'd be fantastic. Just don't see it happening this year. I'm hoping that the motivation gets to them, that they realize that their backs are against the wall a little bit here when it comes to this, extended core, if you will. But another season of wasting of wasting Wheeler or Nola, anything like that. That's what I'm looking at. Also, Jesus Luzardo, up in his game in that rotation, obviously would be great. The last concern that I have, and it's something that I've talked about in the last couple of seasons here. It's actually why I predicted that Aaron Nola would have a good year last year. Aaron Nola's career is crazy in terms of the up and down, the inconsistency with Aaron Nola. I had him. I don't have it. Could have sworn I had it. Yeah. Okay. Last year I predicted a good year because the year prior was not good. It is the ride of the roller coaster of Aaron Nola's career. So last year, Aaron Nola had a decent season, 3.57 ERA. The previous season, ERA in the 4s. The previous season to that, ERA in the 3s. Previous to that, 4. Previous to that, 3. From 2020 through 2024, 3, 4, 3, 4, 3. That's where his ERA has fluctuated. And it's like mid-3s, mid-4s, mid-3s, mid-4s, mid-3s. Like it's like a run differential every single year. So by prediction, if you follow that, you're talking about a now 31-year-old Aaron Nola, will be 32 this season. If you follow that pattern, he should have another ERA in the 4s. I can't do it. I can't. If I'm convinced that this team's going to make the playoffs, I can't be ruling Aaron Nola out as a guy that's going to have, this will obviously be the down year for Nola because that just follows the pattern that he's had over the last 5 seasons. Maybe Jesus Luzardo takes that to the next level. Maybe Christopher Sanchez is good throughout the entire year, not just a great 3 months, earns a new contract, and then, Maybe Ranger Suarez comes back with a healthy back. Maybe Andrew Painter. Maybe Andrew Painter's pitching, before the All-Star break. No? Okay. But I hate to follow the pattern with Aaron Nola. I'm going to say this is the first time since, I think it would be 2017, 2018? 2019, 2020, where he had back-to-back ERAs in the threes. Let's do it. Let's pull for Aaron Nola. So my number is 93 for the Phils. What is your number for 93 for the Phillies this year in terms of how many wins they get this year? And do you see him making the playoffs? Do you see him win the division? Do you see him being terrible? Do you see him winning the World Series? Let me know in the comments your feelings on the 2025 Phillies season. 4:05 today. Everything gets underway. The 76ers are terrible at basketball. Last night was incredible. The Wizards are really terrible at basketball. Coming into South Philly last night, the Washington Wizards had 15 wins on the season. 15 wins on the season. The Sixers are trying to at least keep pace with the Brooklyn Nets for the 5th worst record in the NBA. Last night, the Nets actually helped them out a little bit in one regard, not as much as they could, but helped them out a little bit. The Nets lost to the Raptors, so now there's a 3-game differential between the Raptors, the 6th worst record in the NBA, and the Sixers and Nets for the 5th worst record in the NBA. So last night, the Wizards came to town, and I'm looking at it going, okay, they're terrible. Quentin Grimes is going to be back in the lineup. Sixers just might win this game. They just might win this game. The Wizards aren't going to beat the Sixers. Sixers just getting home. 6-game road trip. Will Smith was in the house. Smacked the hell out of that bell, man. Good for him. Got a street named after him. No way they're losing this game. And then the Washington Wizards, the NBA's 2nd worst 3-point shooting team, hit 9 threes. 9 of them in the first quarter. And I texted my buddy Wes Hall of Monument Sports. I think it is now. It used to be NBC Sports Washington. But anyway, he covers the Wizards for them, and he does the Greatest Sports Legends Then and Now with me and Greg Murphy, and coming to your near rain delay television, I'm sure, this baseball season. And I just texted him. I was just like, please keep this up. Just tell your boys to keep this up, baby. And although they didn't keep up that ferocious 3-point shooting for the rest of the game, a 37% 3-point shooting team shot 40% last night. And at one point, I think at halftime, was shooting 52% from 3. That's pretty good. And it was a thing of beauty because the Sixers just didn't know what to do. The Wizards opened up a 45-29 lead after the first quarter using those 9 threes to do that. Sixers actually made it more of a game than it really was right in the final minutes there. It was 119-114 that the Sixers lost. But, yeah, something like that. And somehow they pulled it off. It was a very clutch loss by the Sixers. I have awarded clutch losses this season. I've never done that before. I've awarded moral victories this season. Quentin Grimes goes for, 30-plus points, and you lose. That's a moral victory to me, because the moral victory is this team isn't supposed to do anything. And if they even put up a fight, I'm like, oh, maybe Quentin Grimes could be useful on this team next year, I don't think I mentioned this on this show. So anyway, the Sixers lost, which was great. They're now off till Saturday. They host the Miami Heat at 7:30 in South Philly on Saturday night. But I saw Patrick Beverley mention this last week, and I think it was about Quentin Grimes. It's like anyone could score, 40 points if you're playing for the Sixers right now, if you got a little bit of talent. Like, I'm not taking away from anything Quentin Grimes did, but I just want to remind people that are even casual basketball fans, Michael Carter-Williams would put up Magic Johnson numbers playing for the god-awful process Sixers. Like, somebody's got to score. Somebody's got to rebound. Somebody's got to get assists. You know what I mean? So Quentin Grimes doing everything that he's been doing. He only had 22 points last night, not 25. So I think he stopped short of only 8 games in a row with 25 points. But Quentin Grimes has through this has shown me that this guy could be a pretty solid off the bench player, second unit player. for a playoff team. Not an all-star, not an MVP candidate, not like that. But just say maybe in the rotation next year. And if I have to take away anything else from this year, other than, we got 9 games left, keep being terrible, I really like Adem Bona. He's playing himself back into it after missing 5 games with the ankle injury. But he gets some softer hands down there in the blocks. You're talking about a guy that I think could be that backup center next year. So that's what I'm getting out of this. That's what I'm getting out of this. Other than that, my eyes bleed. Other than that, my eyes are bleeding. Other than, hey, Quinn Grimes, this is pretty good. Hey, Debona, maybe that's something nice there. Hey, Justin Edwards. Justin Edwards got his first double-double of his career. 19 points, 10 boards last night. Got 3 rebounds. Justin Edwards got 3 rebounds in like a second and a half because he kept missing his layup. But anyway, that got him from 7 to 10, and he got his double-double. So good for maybe he was doing it on purpose. It's selfish play. Anyway, the only goal for me is that the Sixers keep that. Maybe, they've had the 5th worst record in baseball. So that's the way I look at it. Hey, let me tell you about the Game Time app. Now, other than that, the Sixers season pretty much can be summed up by this. Thank you. As for opening day...
Well, that's pretty dope.
There we go. Let me tell you about the Game Time app. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use promo code Farzy, get $20 off your first purchase on the Game Time app. Want to go to the game, the concert, the comedy show? Game Time app has you covered. Simply download the app, create an account, use promo code Farzy, and get $20 off your first purchase on the Game Time app. And don't forget to use Game Time Picks. Game Time Picks filters out all the fluff so you get right down to it. The best seats at the best prices on the Game Time app. So literally save yourself from going through thousands of tickets. You can just see, the best seat right there at the best price. Boom, I'm in. Also, you could view your seat before you buy the tickets, so you take the guesswork out of buying tickets on the Game Time app. So download the app, create an account, use promo code Farzy, get $20 off your first purchase on the Game Time app. How about PHL Sports Nation, Philadelphia Sports Nation, enhancing your Philadelphia sports fan experience across all social media and blogs? That's PHLSportsNation.com. How about Sky Motor Cars? SkyMotorcars.com. Check out Brett's amazing inventory at SkyMotorcars.com. Let's get into the chat check. Danny, congratulations. Pin 9617, good morning. Midnight Lexicon, great name. They will make the playoffs where the batters will go ice cold again with 0 play discipline. There you go. Morning, William Stark. Nice to see you. April. Happy baseball season to you, April. Hope MLB Network comes through with you or for you. MLB.com. I hope you don't get blacked out with DC games. Blacked out as in TV, not as in we're really, really excited it's opening day. Listen, I thought we moved him to first base to extend his career. Yes, you did. But if it's if you're getting a rental, for instance, I don't know who that would be, but let's just say at the deadline you get a rental. You can add that pop to the bat, whatever, pop in your lineup, whatever. And he wants to move to the outfield. Yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, sure. Let's make it happen. William Stark, hello again. Sean Kilrain, hello. Tate Jeffries, happy opening day, Farzy and everyone. Tate Jeffries, a happy opening day to you. Morning, Sean Gillespie. Why Niners? Good morning, Farzy and friends. Don't forget to get your tryout videos in by April 14th to be an Eagles cheerleader. Should I do it? Should I just send in something? Wait, Cody Elliott, Grand Rising. Let's get this pape today, men. Grand Rising, is that a good morning? Good morning. I'm so ready for baseball, says April. Yes, the season is going to be all over the place. Season's going to be all over the place, but it's still better than no baseball. Well, there we go. Jeremy Shriver, happy opening day. Happy opening day. Sean Gillespie, Phillies need to put sensible pressure on themselves, and Rob Thompson needs to put everything on the table. It's his last chance. It absolutely is. After 28, the Eagles... Oh, God! Why Niners Wine? Thank you! Yeah, okay. Why Niners Wine is talking about after 28 years, the Eagles pep band has been let go. Another tough cut this season. This just goes to show you how much they're going to have to pay Jalen Carter. No. Let me tell you something. This summer is going to be my 20th year in the Philly media. 20 years, which is insane. I have known the Pep Band since my first day. Bobby Manshore, who is the leader of the charge there. The Pep Band, like, how are they even in your crosshairs? And look, you could obviously you can point out the $1 billion industry, the NFL. Eagles, $1 billion team, The Pep Band, I have never, ever in 20 years of countless events that I've been to, where the Pep Band has been there, even if we've both been booked to be at the same place at the same time. No one ever in my 20 years of experience has ever been like, oh, the Pep Band's here. Damn it. Like, no, it's, oh, the Pep Band's here. It's not even like, oh, the Pep Band's here. That's cool. It's, oh, the Pep Band's here. Instant happiness. And those guys are fantastic, and they've been great to me forever. And seeing them now, recently, I should say, like, always great to see them. And I don't understand how they're in the crosshairs. How are they even on your mind? Like, well, we got to get rid of the Pep Band. Like, even they we're going to be, what do they say, updating their experience or whatever like that, upgrading their experience. But the Pep Band's an institution. I think those guys are awesome. I know they've been booked for countless weddings, graduation parties, countless events, charitable organizations that they show up to. They're awesome. I just saw that. I went, how? What? Like, they can't be like, if anything, they got to be making money for the team. Hey, look, I don't know how I would assume if they're the Eagles Pep Band, then the Eagles would get a cut of anything they do. I'm pretty sure that's how business works. I just don't see how the Eagles Pep Band could be. And if they're being let go, then that would obviously tell you that there's some kind of tie in there. I just think it sucks. I think it sucks. And I'm going to miss them. I would venture to guess that they're really not going to go anywhere other than they won't be part of the game day experience. But they could still be the Pep Band and show up places. But I don't get it. I don't get it. Where am I at? I don't even know. But thank you, Wine Niners Wine, for reminding me. JB, I can't watch Kyle Schwarber run the bases and not think of the Ted meme. Yeah, I know. He runs just like the movie Ted. The other thing I think of, I have a similar thought, and I know they're very different. Darren Sproles and Kyle Schwarber. I think of the Ted meme, but before the Ted meme came out, that Kyle Schwarber runs just like Ted from the movie Ted. Before that movie came out, or the meme came out, what I would always think when Darren Sproles and Kyle Schwarber ran, I don't know why, but this would come to my head when I would watch them run. Oompa loompa doopity doo. That would always, for some weird reason, in my dumb Family Guy brain, that was the connection I would make. Doopity-doom. Yeah. Anyway. The mother and the father. Anyway. Sean Gillespie, what's going on? Grimes is working for his future employment. Absolutely. Like, if there's anything I could watch. Like somebody sent me, like, thoughts and prayers, basically, for me still having to do Sixers postcasts. I was like, I like it really, in all honesty. Like, I like watching sports. Shocker. I like watching sports, but I really like. I love watching guys that are playing. They're playing for something every night. The guys with the Sixers jerseys on, and this was the only thing I could take away from the process. Is every night those guys were playing. Like, the guys that were playing, not the organization. The organization put out guys that weren't that good. I mean, that's just what the organization did. But the guys that weren't that good were still playing for their future, and I love that for them. Like, at least I know I'm watching guys that give a damn. There is a saving grace to that, small one. I want to go so far as it's called a silver lining, but a bit of a saving grace. Flyers defend their poop season tonight against the Canadiens at 7. Thank you. Yes, that is true. Flyers are back at it against the Habs. Darkwing Ducky, what's going on? Haven't turned on a single Sixers game this year. I'm out on them, ready for the Phillies to be really good and embarrass me in the biggest moments. Look at us. We're all on the same page here. The Muffin Man. Maybe we move the Sixers and Flyers. We can act like we don't know them, like a bad cousin. Oh, you guys are cousins? Oh, no, just distant. Oh, you'll get blacked out in D.C. with the games? Oh, that sucks. You'll get the audio, though. All right. Well, April, don't forget. And everyone in the chat, don't forget. Little bit of change on Locked On Sports. So after the Sixers season, I will no longer be on Locked On Sports Philadelphia's YouTube channel. This baseball season, I will be on Locked On Sports Phillies YouTube channel. So I'll be on Locked On Phillies YouTube channel. Connor Thomas on 97.5 The Fanatic. He does the Locked On Phillies daily podcast on that channel. I will be doing the Locked On Phillies postcast on that same channel. So make sure you like and subscribe to Locked On Phillies YouTube channel. I'll be on there. Be about a 15-minute show, 20-minute show. I'll be reacting to all what goes on for the Phillies season. So there we go. Wine Niners Wine. The Eagles still have the pep band info up on their website if you want some insight before they are gone. There you go. Yeah, I saw the, I think it was the Inquirer. I read their story. It was clear that they got stuff off the website. But yeah, that sucks. That sucks. Maybe I'll reach out to, well, I don't want to. There could be another negotiation going on. I don't want to disrupt anything for people that I really like. But yeah, thanks everybody in the chat. You guys are great as per usual. Wait, I thought I just saw an F-bomb. Maybe not. Okay. Thanks everybody in the chat. You guys are great as per usual. Let's get to the morning rush brought to you by Sky Motor Cars, SkyMotorCars.com. Number 1, Phillies, 4:05 start time. Zach Wheeler against Mackenzie Gore. Mackenzie Gore 1-1 in 4 starts against the Phillies last year. Zach Wheeler was second in the MVP or in the Cy Young voting. You know the deal there. But that gets underway today. Happy opening day. Sixers off till Saturday against the Heat. Flyers and Montreal Canadiens. They dropped the puck at 7 o'clock tonight in South Philadelphia. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. You guys are great as per usual. I'll be back with you guys today after Phillies beat the Nationals to start off the season 1-0. I'll be on Locked On Phillies YouTube channel for your post-cast needs. Thanks, everyone. Coming up on Jacob Media, of course, you got Birds 360, 365, John McMullen, and Xander Krause coming up at 8 o'clock. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Make sure you guys hit like and subscribe on the Farzy Show YouTube channel. Make sure you guys hit like and subscribe on the Jacob Media YouTube channel. Make sure you guys hit like and subscribe on the Locked On Phillies YouTube channel as well. Catch you guys after Phillies start out 1-0. There we go. Build off of that.